Welcome to the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. I am your host, Chad Hufford, and this is the podcast where we celebrate the unsung heroes of the working world. Each week, we dive into the incredible stories of honest, hardworking folks who have found financial success through grit, determination, and good old-fashioned elbow grease. So if you're ready to be inspired and learn how to turn your hard work into your own success story, you're in the right place. This is the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. And we've got a great real life story of somebody who has embodied so many of the principles that we try to encourage every single day, and focusing on some of the little things that make huge differences over time. And I'm here with Cal Lowers, who has longtime Alaskan and worn a bunch of different hats over your life, but I want to focus a little bit on your career with the fire department. Over 3 decades, correct?
Right at 3.
Right at 3 decades, and retired just a couple years ago. So still getting used to retirement. But we were talking right before this, and you shared something that was so powerful when you got hired many, many years ago. You were asking some of the older, more seasoned veterans, like, what, show me the ropes. Like, what are the things I need to do? And you were looking more for like life-saving advice. Like, what were you thinking when you were asking, like, show me the ropes, tell me what I need to know? You were looking for like, some secret tool, or what were you hoping for?
Yeah, I think at the time, I was 33 and I'd done a lot of other things in my life. And I had an uncle that was a firefighter in British Columbia. Talked to him quite a bit about the fire service. I saw a few rescues and things he was involved with. It kind of spurred my interest in it and in the field. So, and I just thought, boy, there's a lot of ways you can get in trouble in that career. And I just wanted some advice from people that had been around for quite a while. I didn't have other than an uncle, I didn't have anyone else in the family who had been in the fire service. So I was just looking for a little nugget gem of information that could maybe save my life someday.
So with just, sorry to cut you off, Cal, but with family members, with your uncle, you knew just from living life that things can go bad fast in that industry. Like a normal everyday situation can turn into life-threatening real quick. So that's kind of along the lines of what you were looking for. And when you were asking around, because it wasn't just one person, right? You got several guys.
Yeah.
What were you getting told?
Yeah, it was, like I said, I was looking for something like, hey, this is going to save your life when you're trapped in a building or whatever. And almost to the person, they told me, well, let me tell you, probably one of the most important things you can do is get involved with deferred comp as soon as possible. I didn't even know what deferred comp was. And I thought that was like, what? I don't understand. What's that got to do with the fire department? But as it turns out, it was a really good piece of information for me. Starting off as a new probationary firefighter, we were making like $9 an hour. I mean, it was, I think for the 5 guys in my class, it was a pay cut for all of us going in, and we're wondering how are we going to make it? And
$9 an hour.
You really want me to save on $9 an hour? I was very fortunate that I had a wife that was working. I commercial fished. I've commercial fished for years, and so I would make some money in the summer. Saving has always kind of been a part of my mindset, that it would be important to save for a rainy day. So it made sense to me, but I kind of wondered how we were going to swing it.
And just to clarify, for those listeners who don't know, a deferred comp or deferred compensation plan, also called a 457, that is a special retirement account available to certain municipality workers, governmental workers, things like that. And in your case, as a young firefighter, it was one of the optional retirement plans offered to you as a firefighter. Nobody is forced to go into that system. It is something that you had to voluntarily step into. So I'm just curious, after getting that advice from multiple people, because you said it was a theme, talking to various people, how soon did it take you to get started?
It was right away. I kind of decided after hearing it from numerous people that, this is something we're going to do. And, I talked to my wife about it, and, she said, yeah, let's save. And, how much can you put in it? And I think at the time it was, I want to say $6,500 a year, maybe 7,000, and then by the time I retired, I think it was up to, you could put like 24,000 in it, so it went up every year. And of course, with our pay after you were off probation, the wages went up, and we knew it would only get easier, or we thought, hopefully, of course, then we were having kids, and so we're having more expenses as well. But we just kind of got in the habit of putting the max that we could put in every year, and just kind of leaving it alone, and not really worrying about the market, or just trusting the long haul, that it would be worth it in the end.
And really focusing on what you can do. Because like you said, you couldn't control your pay rate. You couldn't control what the market was doing, but you could control beginning that habit and starting to save every single. So you started when you're making $9 an hour.
Yeah.
And scrimping and saving, which you said you use commercial fishing, but I mean, that's not an easy job either. It's not like going out commercial fishing during your off time wasn't a sacrifice in of itself. But you and Leslie, you figured out a way to make it work. And what you said, I think, is there's so many important facets to it. But one is just starting the habit, because everybody has excuses for why they can't save. And it's never convenient. It's never convenient to take a pay cut like you did and to start putting that money in something, essentially paying the future version of yourself. Like, it's never convenient. Just like it's never convenient to start working out. It's never convenient to start eating better. Like, but these are all important things. And your habit started relatively small, even though it was a big sacrifice at the time, relative to what you were putting in the later years. But you decided that this is what you're going, you made the hard choice, and you stuck to it your entire career.
Yeah. And it was interesting. In our group of 5 people that got hired together, we all kind of visited about it. And, we had guys that had, been working construction and all walks of life that were making way more money than they were when they got hired with the fire department. But it was a career change, and for all of us, and something that we were excited about doing. And we knew that, our pay would go up, and, there were going to be challenges. But it's kind of funny sitting in that room talking about it. There were other guys that were like, I think I'm going to start with, maybe $50 a month, or $50 a paycheck, or whatever. And then maybe after we get our raise at 6 months or a year, then I'll bump it up, and I really don't know what the other guys did, but for me, I didn't have to think about it. I just say, just whatever the max is, put it in. And if I find I can't live on what I'm making, then I'll adjust it later.
You back off from there.
But I'm going to try to develop a habit of maxing it out to where it's not something I'm going to miss later.
But I think if we're waiting for making the right decisions to be convenient, we're probably never going to make them. And I know that you saw this in the fire department, and it's obviously not just the fire department, it's everywhere. This idea of lifestyle creep, where as people gradually increase their income, get promotions, just gradual pay increases, whatever, that without actually making a tough decision, without actually being intentional, our spending usually just slowly creeps up as much as our income rises. Did you see that within the fire department?
Oh yeah. I'd see guys, after they'd been on a little while, going out and buying a new truck, and, what are they doing? I mean, and those kind of things. I mean, you get thinking, okay, I'm making more money now, so I have more money to spend, or whatever. It's just something. I guess early training with my family we grew up, we didn't have a lot of money, and so it was, 4 kids, and, we're fighting over food and eating at the table. And I don't know, we just, I thought my parents were frugal, and my wife's parents were frugal and just kind of careful. And I think you develop those habits early, and
You were used to making
those helped
you were used to
me.
making a sacrifice.
Yeah.
You used to. I mean, even living within your means, which sounds so simple, but it's so rare. I mean, that's one of the things that I get asked a lot is, what is the secret to being financially independent or being able to retire wealthy? I think it starts with living within your means, which seems so simple, but yet very few people are doing it. Were there ever periods during your career where you wondered, is this worth it? Like with a sacrifice for the future, where you started to doubt your, the sacrifice you're making, would the payoff be worth what you're putting into it?
Honestly, I never really noticed it. I mean, I've always felt like, okay, we're making enough, we're getting by. I didn't do a lot of, when I was on the fire department, I didn't do a lot of traveling or, didn't, I would work a few extra shifts so I could get time off in the summer to go commercial fishing, which was just work. So I never really, I didn't develop these habits of spending or planning on, going on ski trips or doing all this spending money, because I was thinking about commercial fishing and then getting back and paying back days that people had worked for me. So it's, but no, I think to me it was good to see that, hey, every so often you get a statement and, you're saving money, and and the whole idea of the compound interest and watching it grow. And it was kind of fun and kind of exciting to know that, it doesn't seem like it's that big a sacrifice. And I don't feel like I'm missing out, on anything really. So yeah, I'd never really felt like it was a burden.
Well, I think that's an important factor too, of making that sacrifice, starting the habit, even when it's difficult, is get used to it. It's a part of what you're doing. You don't have to make that decision over and over again. That's the beauty of, I think, having, employer-based retirement plans, is that you make the decision once, it automatically comes out, and you're not having to wrestle with that decision every 2 weeks. Like, do I really want to save for my future?
Right.
Like, it was just kind of like, no, this is what I'm doing. Further notice.
Yeah, it's not like I was getting the money and I was looking at it and, I had to, am I going to go put this in the bank? I never saw it,
So you paid your future self before you got paid, essentially. So one of the things I wanted to ask you about, 'cause I think this is really important, you mentioned the experience of growing up with your parents modeling good behavior and being frugal. You also mentioned some of your peers at work. And I think it's so important to have mentors in this area. Every area really. But I was just curious, some of those more seasoned firefighters who gave you that advice, Cal, start putting money away for retirement. Like, start doing this right now. Did they continue to encourage you? Did you, stay connected to those guys? Because I imagine not everybody did what you did.
Yeah, quite a few people, quite a few guys did, and gals. And I did, we would sit around and, every once in a while with a few guys that I was really close to, we would talk like, wow, can you believe, and the market would go up and down, but it always seemed to be going up, in the long haul,
Yep.
it wasn't like, we got a new president, something's going to happen bad, pull out, we just kind of let it go. And together, as we talked, we're like, wow, this is great. And it just in the long haul, I think when you realize you're in it for a long-term goal, you're not always looking at it and wondering, am I making the right decision, or should I be, the play in the market. I was never smart enough to even think about doing something like that myself. So first of all, I think finding people that you really trust, and I trusted a lot of those guys that gave me that advice, but then finding somebody, like you, and getting involved early, and, finding somebody that you really trust, that this is their livelihood. This is what they do. This is how they follow it, and just trust that, hey, the important things are consistently putting in, not panicking, have a goal
Yeah.
at the end and sticking with your plan, and then just see what happens.
Well, and one thing that and another thing I think is really crucial and critical about what you said is that camaraderie. Like, so I was just thinking about, even as you were talking, there's been during your career probably about 7 major market disruptions, like major panics during your career. And of course, that doesn't take into account some of the things maybe more isolated to your life, where you had a new baby and things were tight. And there's, I guess, point being, like, there was a lot of storms that you weathered, but I think having people around you that are going through it with you, whether it the conversations you and I had or the conversations you had with other firefighters, but so many people do wealth on an island. They do money by themselves. I shouldn't say wealth. They try to build wealth on an island, but they do it by themselves. They're isolated. It's very siloed, and it is hard. I mean, it's a long journey. It's a marathon. I think having people to run that race with you, to encourage you, just like you said, you guys are just talking about it at the firehouse, like, so powerful. And not everybody has maybe an employer that offers something like that. You guys are literally living together for a big chunk of the week,
Yeah.
but finding people that you can embark on this journey with, that are going to hold you accountable, that are going to encourage you. I mean, that must have been so valuable. Not just that you got started early, but having people to keep you on the path going forward.
Yeah, it was great. Those are guys that I still keep in touch with today, and we it's fun to see them now going on vacation and seeing them reap some of the benefits of saving, and maybe some of the things they forego went earlier in their
Mm-hmm.
career, they're getting to enjoy now because of their long-term consistent savings plan. So it's fun to hear about those things and see that we're all, you know, still able to survive without work. Not, and a lot of us are still doing things. It's just
Yeah.
we're doing different things and doing things that we want to do and not necessarily have to do. And so, yeah, it's good.
Well, the whole idea of a job optional lifestyle too. I mean, retirement means different things to different people, and obviously, service has always been a big part of your life. But the opportunity to do things on your terms and not needing the paycheck anymore. Not that that's the only reason you did the job. Obviously, it wasn't. But to have the freedom to pursue other things, the things that you might have had to put on hold, and the delay gratification, which, again, simple in concept, but hard to commit to sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. It's been really fun to have more time to share with my aging parents, or to go over and help them and do things and not feel like, well, I gotta, now that I'm retired, I gotta find another job. I mean, I keep thinking I'm going to find something else to do, and there's never a shortage of things to do. I mean, I had a few people say, well, man, I don't know. What are you going to do when you retire? I mean, aren't you going to be bored? And I don't know about you, but that will not be my problem. I got so many things I enjoy doing,
Yeah.
and I'm able to do. There's just not enough hours in a day.
No, you get a huge smile on your face saying it too. And we were teasing about the pickleball earlier, and I mean, you still have a lot of fun. I mean, again, you're intentional in your relationships, helping out with not just your parents, but a lot of other people. I mean, your family has been such a big part of this community in Anchorage for so long. But I also enjoy hearing about the fun that you guys have, whether it's a trip to Hawaii or the pickleball. Sometimes I worry about your shoulders and knees and things like that, but
Hey, you can get a new one.
you just get new ones. So, what would be kind of some closing advice you have for maybe a young person getting started? There's a lot of reasons not to save. There's a lot of reasons not to be on a budget. There's a lot of reasons not to invest. But what would you say to a young person who's getting started, and they got their whole career ahead of them?
Yeah, I would say be consistent, pay yourself first, or put money away, and try to be consistent with that, and don't do it alone. I mean, most of these guys are married and or have friends, or you have people, and they're fortunate if it's people in the fire service or wherever you have people you work with. Don't go at it alone, and find if you have zero confidence in your own ability to save, find somebody that you really trust and you feel like is concerned with your interests as well, and go out and seek guidance and read a book. Try to just learn some of the basic principles that seem to work over the long haul.
We always say finance is a team sport. And I think that's one of the things that makes working with firefighters even more enjoyable, is because the natural camaraderie that job has, where people are lifting each other up. I mean, it's like, band of brothers and sisters, but it's that you guys are doing a really difficult job, but you're doing it together, and you're weathering the storms of life together. And again, for some people listening, they might not have that naturally at their work. And it's something that takes intent. You have to build that, but it's so important, so vital. Cal, I just want to thank you just for not just coming on and sharing some of your wisdom and experience, but for 3 decades of serving this community, and literally, putting your life on the line for sometimes complete strangers. So thank you very much.
Oh yeah, pleasure was all mine. Really, I had to pinch myself a lot doing this. I grew up in my degree, my training was in social work. I got out of college and I really wasn't sure what I really wanted to do. I was working in a juvenile hospital and not sure that was where I was wanting to spend the next 3 decades of my life. And, I had some people that shared with me about the fire department, and just feel blessed to have a job that was challenging and yet required me to stay physically active. And, I've always been involved in sports. So to me, it just seemed like being on a team and, with a goal to serve the community, before, during, and after an emergency. And it was really not hard for me to do. It was a blessing, actually, to be able to have that career. And it went by awful quick. And so, yeah, that's something else I'd tell someone new. Don't wait and think that you're going to, start saving later, because before you know it, your career's over. Yeah, it's kind of fun to see. I got nephews and doing it now, and so it made me feel a little old. But got another month for them on Medicare, though.
Well, no, thank you so much. And yeah, I appreciate everything that you shared with us, everything you said, just your heart of service. And glad you enjoyed it. Glad you enjoyed being able to serve our community the way you did, and continue to do so.
Thanks for listening to the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. We hope this episode has been inspiring and beneficial to you. If you want help on your journey to financial freedom, reach out to us at veritasalaska.com. We'd love to sit down over a cup of coffee with you, either here in our office or virtually, and get to know you and your needs. And though this podcast is free of charge, we do ask that you please do us 2 quick favors. If you enjoyed the episode, give our pod a great rating on iTunes or whatever podcast platform you use, and also give us a follow on Instagram. We hope you have a wonderful day filled with gratitude and intentionality. God bless.